It is so good to be with you all here in the Sarasota, Bradenton area tonight. And I'm happy to be here beyond words, and I'll add some quick commentary. When Tanisha called me to invite me to speak to you all tonight, the opportunity was just too tempting to refuse for a number of different reasons that I will go into more detail about during my remarks this evening. But before I start, I would like to congratulate all of the honorees and award winners here tonight, as well as our special guest and all of the members of the Manasota Black Chamber of Commerce. The world is truly a better place because of each of you, and to all of the other guests in attendance tonight, I extend to you my warmest greetings. I will admit to you that I have attended or spoken at so many events over the years that I have virtually lost count. I just love people and organizations that embrace change, progress, and incremental improvement, because those are so critical and important to the human landscape. Without exception, the keynote speakers at these events have usually fallen into one of three categories. They've either been comedians who fill a night with comedy and laughter, motivational types who fill the night with passion and inspirational themes, or philosophers who fill the night with dreams and insight. Well, I tend to be a little bit of the second and the third one. My mission being to inform and inspire. Tonight I want to speak with you about excellence and how it can help to change your world. I will be tying that into some other subject matters during the speech that I'm sure all of you all will be able to embrace and understand. Before I do that, let me tell you why excellence is so important. When individuals, families, communities, businesses, and institutions come together to promote excellence, something wonderful happens. We learn to live together as brothers and sisters, and we learn to build a brighter future in a new and exciting way. A future built on mutual respect and understanding as the keystones of society. Martin Luther King once said, "We can come together as brothers or perish together as fools." When we come together as individuals, families, communities, businesses, and institutions, we make the future brighter for us all. We avoid the madness that has plagued Syria, Iraq, and Venezuela. We avoid the tragedies of Charlottesville, St. Louis, Orlando, and St. Paul. And we help to solve the economic, environmental, social, and educational issues that continue to plague mankind. Make no mistake, however, first and foremost, a better tomorrow starts with each of you. While some would lead you to believe that mutual respect and understanding are the single keys to a better tomorrow, that is not always the case. Our ability, desire, and willingness to change is just as important. Our willingness to hold ourselves accountable to a higher standard. Mahatma Gandhi once said, "Be the change that you wish to see in the world." By working together, understanding each other, and embracing change, we create a better world, a world that we can all truly be proud of, a world where those in the center, right and left, learn to come together with one single mission. United in our hopes, united in our dreams, and united in our vision for a better tomorrow. Anything else will never do. Oh, you all are going to love where this goes in just a second. The Greek philosopher Aesop once was quoted as saying, "United we stand, divided we fall." While we have made great progress over the ages, rising from chaos to civility, lots of work remains. we still have a long way to go, my friends. Back last summer, many of you heard about what happened at the Autovation Hotel. The event where a note using the N-word was left in my room for my family and I to discover. While family, friends, employees, and peers will tell you that I am generally an even-tempered soul, I can tell you that that is not always the case. I really do get mad from time to time, as my friends will tell you. When I found that note, I was angry, livid, irate, and furious all rolled into one. I threw a fit and had a great big old temper tantrum. You know, steam coming out of my ears, jaw fell off, and all sorts of crazy foreign words coming out of my mouth. After the event made the news, I had, sadly, white supremacists accuse me of writing the note, and all sorts of crazy people sending me nasty letters and emails, some going as far as calling up my corporate office trying to talk to me to hurl insults. But you know, they say that every cloud has a silver lining. And for me, the silver lining was the outpouring of kind letters that I received, some from people here tonight. And if you were one of those people that sent me a kind letter or called me, I will be forever grateful that you stood up and said what needed to be said. At the height of the news cycle, I was a guest on Joe Madison's radio show talking about the incident. By then, given a moment to reflect, I shared the facts and what I had learned. I learned that Marriott and Shana Hotel executives and associates, including my new good friend Asa Thomas, who's with us this evening, are truly top-notch people who felt the pain of the ordeal as much as I did. We were all harmed by the cowardly, immoral actions of a sick and deranged moron. After the fact, I learned that some of the Autovation associates had ethnic slurs hurled at them by the same sick moron. And I will tell you, I got angry again. There was a whole completely separate set of anger that came out after I learned that the incident really extended beyond myself. By directly or indirectly disparaging my family and Marriott ethnic associates through their actions, the Neanderthals who left that note, and we know who they were. It didn't come out in the news, did it? Yeah, we know who they were. Chose to be part of the problem and not part of the solution. But as I told Joe and his listeners, two wrongs don't make a right. I simply refuse to lower myself to the same poor standards of others. I wanted to send a clear message that we must learn to hold ourselves accountable to a higher standard. As Michelle Obama so eloquently says, when they go low, we go high. When hate mongers spew their poison, I'm going to stake out the high ground. When homophobes spew their vile philosophies, I'm going to stake out the high ground. And when white supremacists practice their narrow-minded philosophies, I'm going to stake out the high ground. We simply will not survive if we let bullies and morons capture the high ground. I refuse to let moral ineptitude dominate the narrative and pollute the minds of others. The stakes are just too high. We can no longer allow the toxic standards of vile, self-absorbed morons to tarnish America anymore. The best way to make America greater is by vanquishing racism, stopping sexism, crushing narcissism, defeating fascism, ending bullying, and eradicating greed once and for all. There simply isn't another answer, and we have passed the time for making excuses. George Washington once said that 99% of failures come from people who make excuses. It's time for us to stop making excuses and address the task at hand, creating a better world. It all begins with embracing the right perspectives. While failure is a voyage of discovery, apathy is a voyage of defeat and capitulation. When it comes to the pursuit of a better tomorrow, I myself would rather fail than surrender. If you believe as I do, there is always hope for a better tomorrow. You know, it's truly amazing where we are today. We are all 99.6% alike genetically. True wonders of nature. We are white, black, brown, with different dreams, different goals, different realities, and different values. We are each amazingly similar, yet fabulously unique. A true wonder to behold. Many of us are united in our vision for a better tomorrow, embracing our distinctions as our strengths and not our weaknesses. Willing to extend the hand of friendship and fellowship to others. But although the world is full of good people, we keep getting pulled down by the same bad actors. In far too many instances, we give those who should be muted a voice, letting them spew venom and hate speech when we should be silencing them and casting them off into oblivion. You have to ask yourself why. The root of this evil lies in a deeply rooted societal flaw that has been left largely unaddressed and unresolved. A flaw that threatens to tear the foundational fabric of our nation and the world, pitting brother against brother and sister against sister. While we have struggled with this flaw through the ages, there is a solution, and that is simply holding ourselves all accountable to a higher standard. Our Declaration of Independence includes the immortal words that we often forget, that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. All men are created equal, not some. That they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that are among these are, you guessed it, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. One big problem is that we all too often as a society forget these words and their great fundamental importance. We forget who we are and what we stand for. We forget what's really important. That leads to an important question. Who in the world is Frank Davis? Why is he here? And why is this all so important to him? Well, let me answer those questions. I'm here because I care, first and foremost. I'm here because I have a vision for the future that I always like to share. And I am here because I know that I can no longer afford to stay silent. The risk is far too great for us all if I do. I come to you as the great-great-grandson of Martha Chivas, a slave, and the great-great-great-grandson of Thornton Winkie, another slave. I know exactly who I am, where I came from, and what my mission is. My mission is to be a good son, and to be a good grandson, to be a good father and husband, to be a good brother, cousin, uncle, nephew, boss, leader, neighbor, and friend to those who are responsible, those who care, those who are honest, and those who are moral. My mission is to make the world a better place by doing what I can to vanquish racism, stop sexism, crush narcissism, defeat fascism, end bullying, and eradicate greed, helping to fix what needs to be fixed. I want to help all of you to promote that better tomorrow that we all dream of. Well, I would like to think that I am all of the good things that I just mentioned. That means nothing if I don't stand up tonight and say what needs to be said. I also recognize that one man alone cannot change the world. It's just simply not that easy. The world only changes when everybody comes together in pursuit of a better tomorrow. We each have to be willing to make a difference. But sadly, my friends, change is seldom, if ever, easy. While I always like smooth roads, calm seas, clear skies, sometimes that just doesn't happen. The future will always include potholes, rogue waves, and storm clouds. It's just that simple. Sometimes we are our own worst enemies. In other instances, we face the constant onslaught of despots, charlatans, bamboozlers, extremists, fanatics, and cheats that continue to plague the human landscape, many of whom would rob their own mother or stab you in the back to make a buck or get ahead. While we should have addressed many of these problems long ago, we haven't for a variety of reasons. Self-preservation, apathy, fear, greed, and indifference has kept many of us from addressing what needs to be addressed, casting our future in doubt. But my friends, the time for change is now. The risk to our families, our communities, our businesses, and our institutions is far too great to maintain the status quo. It's time for us all to stand up for a better tomorrow, make progress where we haven't made progress before, and do what needs to be done. How many of you in the room remember the 1992 comedy Ladybugs with Rodney Dangerfield? Guys, let me have a show of hands. Okay, you all will see where I'm going with this in a second. Ladybugs was a comedy about a corporate professional who was desperate to move up the corporate ladder. He had one problem though. In order to gain a promotion, he had to first coach his boss's daughter's soccer team. Jackie Harry, for those of you who remember her, she was his co-star. While it was a funny movie, it did have a serious moment that made me pause and reflect on our current predicament. When his boss criticized him for playing a subpar player during a game, Dangerfield's character responded with the phrase, "What good is being the best if it brings out the worst?" And I repeat, what good is being the best if it brings out the worst? Truer words have seldom, if ever, been spoken. How is it that racism, sexism, narcissism, fascism, bullying, greed, and the things that make us worse have been embraced sometimes over dignity, morality, decency, and philanthropy, and the things that make us better? Why have they gone uncontrolled and unchecked for so long? While in days gone by, the media used to stand up in unison to some of these flaws, that isn't always the case any longer. Skewed ideologies and the lure of better ratings has far too often silenced the voice of moderation, leaving us all hanging by a thread. Urban and rural, red and blue, young and old, conservative and liberal, rich and poor, we simply must do a better job of living up to high standards and ideals. To do otherwise undermines all that we stand for. I, for one, believe that anything is possible if we're simply willing to try. Against all odds, we can prevail. Let me share a story with you. And where's Tanisha? Tanisha, are you over there? Okay, Tanisha and the board members are going to have to indulge me because I'm going to share a story and they're going to say, oh, I know this one. Talking about how you can sometimes prevail against all odds. You should love this one. I was blessed to have a wonderful father who was willing to do almost anything for me. He taught me right from wrong and endured great hardship putting me through college. But as an adult, I had one problem with my father, problem that I had a really hard time with. His stubborn resolve to never let me pay for dinner. Keep in mind that at the time I had good jobs and I was more than willing to pay for dinner. After years of growing increasingly frustrated at his lack of flexibility on the subject, I used that Bucknell education that he paid for and a little bit of ingenuity to come up with a plan. At the end of a very expensive night out in Chicago many years ago, when the dinner bill finally arrived at my table, I sprung into action. My father grabbed the check and gazed at me with his, "Don't you even try to grab it" look. And I knew it was coming. At that moment, I sprang into action. I took $100 that I had in my pocket, dropped it on the floor by his feet, knowing that I was going to get the last word. When he stood to get up after dinner with a straight face, I motioned across the table to my father to point out that he had dropped $100 on the floor and motioned for him to pick it up. Startled, he looked at me and says, "Oh my gosh," and rather frantically reached over to pick up the $100 that I had dropped on the floor for him. So I paid for dinner that night, despite his best attempts at keeping me from doing so. Later that night, I reached around to pat myself on the back. The lesson learned was, despite the odds, almost anything is possible, but we have to be first willing to try. If the good-hearted, righteous, and responsible among us rise up, we can accomplish almost anything. Part of the problem today is that we lack a practical model for promoting a better tomorrow. The answer is, in part, learning to aim high. The problem is, until we clearly define what aiming high is, we will continue to fail. That's a big problem. Everybody assumes that everybody knows what aiming high is all about, but nobody is willing to define that. How many football fans do we have in the audience tonight? Oh, a whole bunch. How many of you know who Vince Lombardi is? Yep, good number, absolutely. For everyone, Vince Lombardi was the championship-winning coach and general manager of the Green Bay Packers and the Washington Redskins. He redefined coaching in a way that still lives on today. Even teams that he was an assistant coach for achieved winning in a profoundly new way. Vince Lombardi had many standards and practices that aided him in his pursuits. You would never think that a football coach's philosophy could extend to the world at large, but in his case, they do. One of Lombardi's quotes from over 40 years ago that we never hear about helps us to address the million-dollar question: how do we promote a better tomorrow? A better tomorrow for you, a better tomorrow for your family, a better tomorrow for your friends, and a better tomorrow for your communities and your businesses. That Lombardi quote was, "Perfection is not attainable, but if we chase perfection, we can catch excellence." I repeat, perfection is not attainable, but if we chase perfection, we can catch excellence. By raising the bar and paying attention to the little things, we can solve most, if not all, of our problems. The problem is, we as a society have done a very poor job communicating what excellence is and how to achieve it. Sadly, if you ask 1,000 people what excellence is, you're going to get 1,000 different answers. many of them off the mark. If you don't know what excellence really is, how can you achieve it? Really a critical question. The answer is, in the absence of a definition, you can't achieve excellence. It's a virtual impossibility. It's crazy, but it's true. The good news is, and some of you say, okay, Frank, where are we going? Where are we going? The good news is, I know exactly what excellence is, and I'm going to share it with you. I'm not going to bamboozle you like some other speakers that I know who throw out these fancy words, and you leave at the end of the evening empty, wondering what in the world was this all about? What did I learn? I didn't learn anything. I am not going to do that with you all, trust me. I learned long ago the power that we gain from excellence. When individuals, families, communities, businesses, and institutions embrace excellence, a profound change occurs. The scorn of racism, sexism, narcissism, fascism, bullying, and greed are simply no match for the beauty of excellence. Well, let's talk about what excellence is and what excellence isn't. While excellence has a basis in sports, excellence is not purely the manifestation of how we perform on the gridiron, court, mat, slopes, or in the pool. It's much more than that. While excellence also has a basis in corporate or institutional performance, it's important to recognize that excellence extends far beyond financial performance. You can be profitable and yet corrupt and negligent. We see that all the time. And finally, while excellence also has a basis in academia, it is once again important to recognize that excellence extends far beyond a grade assessment. In some instances, you can earn an A without really learning anything, or by cheating or otherwise embracing tarnished practices. How many of you all have been watching with specific interest the scandal in academia involving Yale, USC, Stanford, some of our bellwether institutions? Helps to drive home the point. We have been far too often led to believe that excellence is a limited scope pursuit when the opposite is true. Excellence is not an occasional endeavor. It's an everyday pursuit that must be embraced every day with passion and commitment. Excellence means being held accountable to a higher standard and embracing the truth at all cost. Excellence means being part of the solution and not part of the problem, doing what it takes to promote a better tomorrow. And excellence means sometimes being willing to endure short-term pain for long-term gain. But excellence is about more than just the positives. Excellence means never being consumed by petty jealousies, bowing to the blight of injustice and persecution, or falling prey to hate and criminality. And finally, excellence means never allowing the evil six, as I call them, to prevail over dignity, morality, decency, and philanthropy. I didn't share with you earlier that I am a published author, twice published. I wrote my first book, The 835, to help ancestry researchers discover their heritage. In that book, I shared the process that I used that led to the discovery of 835 of my ancestors back to the Bight of Biafra, Nigeria, Timbuktu, and Jemagen, Germany, of all places. I wrote the book because I recognized long ago that building your future means first understanding your past. I truly needed to know who I was before I could go and embark on the mission that I needed to embark on. That led me to write the second book, Continuous Improvement by Improving Continuously, known of as Civic. which highlights the dynamics of excellence as a promoter of continuous improvement. As a native Washingtonian from Anacostia, how many people are familiar with the Washington, D.C. area? For those of you who have been up there a lot, yes, I am from Anacostia, which surprises people because they assume that this clear-speaking, successful corporate CEO could not be from the wrong side of the tracks. Well, guess what? I was not a country club kid growing up, I can assure you. So against the odds, I've done what it's taken to go and be successful in my pursuits. So Civic highlights the dynamics of excellence as a promoter of continuous improvement. I wrote that book to help my friends, my family, my employees, and my peers to achieve excellence because I had a model that I really thought worked really well. I think the model works really well because I started my first Horizon company back in 2001. Yes, you guessed it. I had the misfortune of starting my first business right before 9/11. Not exactly the best timing in the world, which led to a significant economic issue. Well, I'm here and I'm proud to say that my organization has been growing and profitable for the last 17 years. I'm proud to have clients including Honda Worldwide and Volkswagen. In other words, I play with the big boys every day. I do not play in the little leagues. We've defined excellence, even our clients embrace and understand our definition of excellence, and it has gone a long way in helping us to achieve excellence and helping them to achieve excellence. Continuous improvement and excellence are not just about business, it's about people too, which is a big issue and a big problem. While authors and scholars from Stephen Covey, Dale Carnegie, Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, Tom Peters, Kim Blanchard, and Norman Vincent Peale have imaginatively and systematically tried to address the dynamics of continuous improvement, quality, motivation, and excellence from a limited perspective, none of them have tackled the challenge of bringing forth a truly comprehensive model for excellence that can be embraced by young and old, rich and poor, skilled and unskilled, black and white, families and teams, and groups and special interests with heart and soul. Civic was designed to succeed where other models have failed. As both an art and science, Civic highlights the 9 pillars of excellence, or sapphires. You may be asking me, sapphires, well, what is a sapphires? Well, sapphires is an acronym that was developed to make it easier for people to understand and remember what the 9 pillars of excellence are. Stability, adaptability, planning, patience, humility, intelligence, resilience, enthusiasm, sustainability happens to spell out the acronym SAPPHIRE. So it's funny. So when I'm looking for collaborators or employees or people to network and team with, you know, in the old days, you used to hear people say, well, I've got to look for some stars. Well, I don't look for stars anymore. I look for sapphires, and those are people and organizations that embrace those 9 pillars of excellence, or the sapphires. So once again, Civic was designed to succeed where the other models have failed. But you may be asking me, well, go into some more detail about these pillars of excellence. Well, let me give you some examples that you may find interesting. For instance, the 5th pillar of excellence is humility. Humility highlights the importance of our interactions, how we act towards others, and how they act towards us, individually and collectively. Humility and its components of dignity, morality, decency, and philanthropy help us to comprehend and promote our healthy interactions with society at large. The key there is racism, sexism, narcissism, fascism, bullying, and greed only exist in the absence of humility. Think about it. Racism, sexism, narcissism, fascism, bullying, and greed only exist in the absence of humility. But excellence is about more than just humility. The sixth pillar, intelligence, highlights the importance of knowledge, our learning endeavors, and the truth in the pursuit of excellence. Intelligence and its components, exposure, retention, application, and creation, which my friends from academia should love, help us to pursue and expand our level of insight and know-how. The ninth pillar, sustainability, highlights the importance of continuity in our everyday pursuits. Sustainability and its components of safety, security, reliability, and quality help us to safeguard our continued endeavors, activities, going concerns, and life itself. Together, these pillars of excellence, sapphires and lesser elements, can power your pursuit of a better tomorrow for you, a better tomorrow for your family, a better tomorrow for your groups, a better tomorrow for your businesses, and a better tomorrow for your institutions, helping to promote life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for everyone. For those who embrace the pillars of excellence and the sapphires, life becomes a more dynamic pursuit, helping you to change your world and giving you the power to make the world a better place. So the choice is yours. You can choose apathy and being part of the shoulda, woulda, coulda crowd, or embrace forward progress and action. If you choose forward action, Civic can be your guide. There is no power greater than the power of the mind, and Civic helps to build stronger minds. French philosopher René Descartes once famously was quoted as saying, "I think, therefore I am." We each have it in our power to make a difference, to promote excellence as our salvation, to promote humility as our answer to racism, sexism, narcissism, extremism, and fascism, and to promote the power of the human spirit as a promoter of change. The time for excuses has passed. The time for action is upon us. It's time for you to surge forward and make the world a better place. I thank you all for coming this evening, and I wish you all the best in your future endeavors.